This is Pennine Radio with transmitters on 235 metres medium wave from Tyson Lane and 96 megahertz stereo VHF from Idle. With you from now until 1 a.m. tomorrow morning. Pennine 235, music and news from Bradford, West Yorkshire.
Pennine 235. Pennine 235.
Good morning, this is Pennine Radio. It's 6 o'clock, time for the news. This is Stephen Harris reporting. First, there's grim news for the steel industry. Vital exploratory talks between blast furnacemen and the arbitration service over pay rates at Llanwern in South Wales broke down last night. The blast furnacemen's union is calling for a nationwide strike, and already its members at Scunthorpe Steelworks have begun their walkouts. With the details of the talks, Bob Frankham.
We regret this. We think they should have done. That was certainly our wish. The fact that we're out of procedure we find quite distressing. Traditionally, the industry always worked while it argued, but that tradition has been lost. It seems now that the thing is to stop work and then argue from an apparent position of strength.
I'm sorry we had the wrong cart there. That was Bob Scully, who's the British Steel Corporation's chief executive, explaining why the blast furnacemen are going to arbitration. Conservative leader Mrs. Margaret Thatcher has started her tour of America with a scathing attack on what she describes as the British sickness. Speaking at the Institute of Socio-Economic Studies in New York, Mrs. Thatcher said the sickness is being caused by the relentless pursuit of equality and the persistent expansion of the role of the state. She said the first lesson of the last 30 years was that the pursuit of equality is a mirage, and asked what could be desirable and practical than the pursuit of a police of opportunity with the right to be unequal. The Liberals appear to have settled their differences over the leadership of Jeremy Thorpe for the time being at least. One MP at their annual assembly in Scarborough is quoted as saying that they've decided against having a vote of confidence in Mr Thorpe. But the Young Liberals are expected to continue to press for more local party participation in the business of electing a party leader. 4 Palestinian gunmen who seized the Egyptian embassy in Madrid are on board a plane and on their way to Algeria. They have 8 hostages, including the Egyptian, Iraqi and Algerian ambassadors from the Spanish capital. From Madrid, Ernesto Mendoza.
The gunmen occupied the Egyptian embassy and threatened to blow it up unless Egypt denounced a peace agreement with Israel. But they accepted a signed statement from 5 Arab ambassadors in Madrid denouncing the agreement. They asked and got an Algerian plane to fly them out of Spain. The 4 left the embassy wearing stocking masks and armed with submachine guns and pistols. With the hostages, they were driven in a minibus to the airport. The hostages included the Egyptian ambassador and 2 of his staff, and the ambassadors of Iraq and Algeria. Police armed with submachine guns guarded the airport, but they were withdrawn at the request of the Palestinians. For IRN, this is Ernesto Mendoza, Madrid.
Finally, there's been a strike with a difference. In Hobart, Tasmania, 50 factory workers ended their 3-day walkout when their boss returned the toilet doors he'd removed after accusing them of time wasting in the loo. Next, Bradford and West Yorkshire news on the half hour, and the main stories: a local MP calls for legislation to stop a loophole in the breath test law, a Bradford trade union leader attacks the government for buying foreign textiles, and Bradford launches a campaign to get more foster parents. And now the latest weather forecast for Bradford and the West Yorkshire area. It's the forecast for the area until 6 p.m. tonight. Today will be dry and sunny and rather warmer than yesterday, with temperatures rising to 17 degrees centigrade. That's 63 degrees Fahrenheit. Winds will remain light to moderate. Stephen Harris, Pennine Radio News.
To Steve Merrick 35.
That's the way it goes on a Tuesday morning. The 16th of September 1975. That's the Honey Bus there, and their song called I Can't Let Maggie Go. One of the lots and lots of the music we're going to be playing for you in the next years to come indeed. Good morning and welcome to The Breakfast Show. My name is Steve Merrick. This is Pennine 235.
On top of the world, Pennine 235.
7 minutes now past 6 o'clock, 7 past 6. It's must admit it's nice to be the very first programme on the wireless. Right, first time in the morning.
He sees her at the same time.
Tell you what, if it was as cold where he is as it is in Bradford this morning, I don't think he'd be going in for too much moonlighting indeed. That's Leo Sayer there, the song which is currently number 1 this week. Very appropriate to play right at the beginning of our transmissions to Bradford and also to most of the other areas around as well. It's 11 minutes now past 6 o'clock, 11 past 6. Leo Sayer, indeed.
Hang on. Oh, come in.
Wow, that's the new Pink Floyd.
Yeah, from Pearson's Records. You save 60 pence. There's some LPs from only 49 pence and 10% off all records.
Pearson's, that small record shop in Rawson Place, next to the meat market.
Did you say small? Pearson's is one of the country's top 50 record shops. There's 3 floors, including the bargain basement. The range of tapes is fantastic.
Okay, stop.
Ooh, first time you've asked me to do that. Mum?
It's Bradford City Hall chimes.
But isn't it a new tune?
Yes, it's so you can spot messages from the Telegraph and Argus each time they're given on Pennine radio.
Oh, I see. Do you know, I used to enjoy reading Telegraph when I lived at home.
Oh, your dad and I'd be lost without it, Sue. There's always plenty of local news, births, marriages, deaths, all small ads. Oh, and very often now and again, there are hundreds of articles on offer at a £5 and under.
Mum, please remind me to take a copy home tonight. I know Bill will enjoy sports news, so there'll be something for both of us.
So there'll be something there for everybody. It always pays to take the T&A.
The Telegraph and Argus. It's all about Bradford.
Pennine 235.
Right after this one, which comes from a lovely lady called Odia Coates, and not only that, but also Paul Anker as well, called This Is the Love, and I think it's stronger than anything else. The unofficial weather forecast, the very first one on Pennine 235, and then at about 20 past 6, I think we'll have the real weather forecast, brighten you up to a new day.
I believe there's nothing stronger than our love.
They obviously haven't heard the medium wave transmitter at 235, have they? Wow, that's pretty strong, and it'll wake you up first thing in the morning too. That's Odia Coates and a lovely gentleman called Paul Anker. That's called There's Nothing Stronger Than Our Love. It's 15 minutes now past 6 o'clock, 15 past 6. Now we can start it all over again. I'm Steve Merrick, and you've got a warm welcome first thing in the morning between 6 and 9 with me on The Breakfast Show. And we've got lots of things to give away with you, or even to you, not least among them a nice big packet of cornflakes. And I shall be telling you more about that at about 6:30, 7:15. And it's called Breakfast with Merrick. And as I'm feeling a bit starving this morning, I wouldn't mind having a quick breakfast myself. But we'll wait until around 7:15 for that one, all right? The unofficial weather forecast, it is chilly. Brrr, exceptionally chilly indeed. Not only is it chilly, but it's also rather frosty as well. So it looks as if the roads are going to be somewhat slippery on a Bradford morning. But to wake you up feeling cheerful, well, as cheerful as you can ever at this time of day, here's Mandy. And this comes from Barry Manilow. The memory music on 235 from 74. Good morning, sleepy eyes. I think we'll dedicate that one especially to you. What you're doing up this time of the morning is an amazement to me. But that'll teach you to go to bed late, won't it? It's 19 minutes now past 6 o'clock, 19 past 6. And a song from 1974, which beautifully comes from Barry Manilow, yeah. That one's called Mandy. If you're going in your car at the moment, remember what I said before. Looks like it's going to be a little bit of a misty morning in Bradford. Not only that, but the roads are a little bit treacherous also because there's a bit of frost on them. It's called black ice, you see.
And you can't help smiling when you drive a Citroen 2CV.
How would you like to see the Citroen 2CVs and Diane's racing this weekend? Come to Clitheroe on the A59 this Saturday and Sunday for the great 2CV cross meeting. You can see these top economy cars battling to win on a really dicey circuit. It's 2 great days racing at the Citroen 2CV Cross from 10:30 this Saturday and Sunday at Clitheroe Lancs on the A59. Don't miss it.
Call first at Morrison's, your friendly Morrison's. Real value Morrison's, permanent low prices at Morrison's. Clean, careful Morrison's, everything's at Morrison's. Honest to goodness Morrison's, the better way to shop and save at Morrison's.
Good morning, how How are you today?
That's the sound going into your ear holes.
Feeling reasonably good, I do hope and trust. And if you can stay with me till around 9 o'clock, I think it'd be a miracle. Well, I'll tell you what, that's the first miracle of the morning. If you can hear George McRae on that song, you'll be lucky. That's KC and the Sunshine Band, just waking you up first thing in the morning, you see. And that's their song, which is called That's the Way I Like It. All right, let's have a look at the weather. It's 23 minutes now past 6 o'clock, 23 past 6. Let's have a look at the weather, see if it's going to be a nice day. And it's the weather forecast till 6 p.m. tonight. They can be so good. Today is going to be dry and sunny and rather warmer than yesterday. Temperatures rising to 17 degrees centigrade. That's 63 degrees Fahrenheit. The winds are going to remain nice and light and moderate, and that looks like the weather. I must say that up in Baildon yesterday, it was absolutely gorgeous. Sun, we were sunning ourselves all over the dahlias and daisies. But last night it was absolutely freezing, so I couldn't go what I like doing first thing in the night time, or last thing at night, and that's charging round by a greenhouse. I think I'll tell you more about that later, though.
To Steve Merrick, 35.
All right, it's only appropriate now, 24 minutes past 6 o'clock, 24 past 6, so we play my hit pick as the first hit pick on 235 on our opening morning on the 16th of September, and it's this.
Time you'd like to get.
Not the first time that song's been around, but they've remixed it and done nice things to it as well. And that's my hit pick this week on 235. Lovely, that's the sound of the Magic People themselves, Pilot, all the way from Scotland, and that thing from them is called Just a Smile. It's 27 minutes now past 6 o'clock, 27 past 6.
Tradesmen, buy from Prospect Mill and you'll profit. A fabulous range of clothing for men, women and children, plus a great selection of bedding, all at Prospect Mill cash and carry prices. Stock up and save with Prospect Mill. They're open all week, late on Thursdays and on Sunday from 9 to 1. Prospect Mill is the trade-only warehouse where savings come wholesale. Prospect Mill, Cemetery Road, Pudsey.
And you can't help smiling when you drive a Citroen 2CV.
The Citroen 2CV can do up to 54 miles to the gallon. It's cheap to maintain and it's a full-size four-door sunshine roof car that's still a reasonable price.
And you can't help smiling when you drive a Citroen 2CV.
Test drive the Citroen 2CV along with the full Citroen range this week at Jack Andrews Cars Limited, Wetley Hill, Bradford. Telephone 495543.
Really, it's kind of a day of firsts today, what with a new radio station starting in Bradford and me getting up for the first time at 5 o'clock in the morning, feeling very sleepy-eyed. It is our first dedication too, and it's to a lovely lady whose birthday it was on Sunday, the 14th of September, and her name is Anne, and she's a milk lady, and it's from her husband Bob. And I hope you like this one, my love. She lives in Cullingworth, at Station Road in Cullingworth, and as usual, like to crash 'em when I crash 'em well. You might have noticed that this is Rod Stewart and Sailing. Take us to news at 6:30. The shortest snatch of Rod Stewart and Sailing, the song, which is number 5 this week in our Pennine 35, serves to prove that he's a very good singer because it sounds good too. I shall be back right after the news with some nice music, memories indeed from Gilbert O'Sullivan. Pennine 235 news at 6:30 a.m.
This is Stephen Harris reporting. A local MP is calling for a fresh look to be taken at the breath test laws. The call comes from Marcus Fox, who's Shadow Minister of Transport and MP for Shipley, after a national newspaper revealed how it's possible to drink the equivalent of 8 pints and still pass the test. This is done by blowing in the bag in a certain way, but he's not saying how. We asked him what he was going to tell the Minister of Transport.
The Minister of Transport has intimated that he's not happy with the workings of the breathalyser laws as they exist at the moment. And it is disturbing when one finds that the law is being flouted, which sort of this article suggests. So the question that I shall be putting to the Minister, is he satisfied with the way in which it's operating and what are his proposals? But what I am more concerned about is that here is the whole system now is suspect. The one thing that the breathalyser must be is fair. And if we have got people who can, through a trick, can get round it, well then we really ought to look at the whole system and devise a better method.
A woman has pleaded to the Home Secretary to get him to abolish her brother's special prison cell in Wakefield Jail, which some psychiatrists claim causes unacceptable mental distress. Her brother is David Anslow, and she describes his cell conditions.
The room is just completely white, and the window is blanked out with a sheet, and a white board, so he can't see out at all. He's not allowed to speak to any prison officers or anybody else unless they speak to him. The first time we went to see him, he couldn't really talk to us, and I could have broke down and cried when I saw him. You just couldn't tell him, and he started to speak, and it was just terrible to see him. He was just a different person altogether.
Bradford people may soon be able to switch on their radio and hear their councillors at work. Bradford Council's information panel is pressing the council's management committee to allow local radio coverage of committee meetings for a 6-month trial period. The information panel has already agreed to experimental coverage of 3 consecutive meetings of the City Council. A Bradford union leader has attacked the government for buying foreign textiles at a time when our own textile industry is fighting for survival. Fred Dyson, General Secretary of the National Union of Dyers and Bleachers and Textile Workers, accuses the Coal Board, for one, of not buying British when it comes to textiles. And he says that there would be no need for the suggested restrictions on imports of cheap foreign goods if the British textile industry got all the government contracts.
It'd be quite simple if they'd give government contracts to the textile industry instead of import it. We've found out recently that most of the material supplied to the Coal Board was foreign textiles. That's rapidly being rectified, but if you did an investigation in the government departments, you would find, as per the House of Commons one, where they bought the German pottery. So they ought to put the house in order, and at least during times of crisis, especially when an industry is going through this depression, at least it could maintain it until its chance to get on a reasonable competitive basis again by honouring that particular one, government contracts to the textile industry.
The next national news is on the hour, and the main stories are: the crisis in the steel industry deepens. In America, Mrs. Thatcher attacks the British sickness, and 4 Palestinian hijackers are on their way to Algeria. And now the latest weather forecast for the Bradford and West Yorkshire area. It's the forecast for the area until 6 p.m. tonight. Today will be dry and sunny and rather warmer than yesterday, with temperatures rising to 17 degrees centigrade. That's 63 degrees Fahrenheit. Stephen Harris, Pennine Radio News.
To Steve Merrick, 35.
That's a great song to play first thing in the morning, especially when you've got to be up and around and gone to work by 7 o'clock. You've got 22 and a half minutes to make it, because it's 22 and a half minutes now to 7, 22 and a half minutes now before 7 o'clock, 2:35 this is, and I'm Steve Merrick, and this is The Breakfast Show. My goodness me, in the years to come, we've got things galore to give away to you, and about 6:45, in about 7.5 minutes' time, I shall be telling you about breakfasting with Merrick. And if you haven't had breakfast with Merrick or anyone else before, because maybe you live on your own, you are going to be surprised by the dexterity of my cornflake.
On top of the world, Pennine 235.
I'm no fool, you see. Make sure it's the right cornflake, and then away we go. A little coffee and cornflakes first thing in the morning. 22 now before 7 o'clock. 22 minutes now to 7 o'clock. And I think after we've heard from Jonathan King, and a great song from him, currently number 4 this week in the Pennine 35, and it's called Blanco La Blogo, commonly known as the White Dove. We'll have a look at the morning papers, see if they're as wide awake as you are. Ha, ha, ha.
My freedom away.
Jonathan King making sure that he can come back in 1975 with a very good song indeed. It's another version of that, but we're playing the hit version, you see. Snobs that we are on 235. Jonathan King anyway, and that's his song, which is called The White Dove. Much prefer the English title to that than the French one, or the Italian, because I can't pronounce it, if you want the honest truth. It's 18 minutes now before 7 o'clock, 18 minutes before 7. And at 7 o'clock we'll have the latest in news for you nationally, see what's happening in the world around us, and now we'll have a look at the papers, I think. Don't know if you can afford a paper this time of the morning, but let's have a look. And the Sun gets the instant review first, and in International Women's Year, I think it's only right that the first story we feature must be about a lady, and it's about Maggie Thatcher, well-known Conservative leader. The British sickness is the banner headline in the Sun on the front page, looking extremely large, I must say, at this time. An astonishing speech in the USA, it says. Tory leader Margaret Thatcher last night gave her diagnosis for the British sickness in an astonishing speech to Americans. She attacked the relentless pursuit of equality. Oh, I see. Well, and it goes on and on. But let's turn over the page briefly to page 3. And I'm sure you know about the Sun's Dear me. If you're eating your cornflakes and coffee at this particular moment, I do suggest you take a very quiet look at page 3. A very lovely lady this morning. What's her name? Carmilla. Oh, the curvy Carmilla is going to get stuck up in the studio, I feel. Absolutely too much. Very nice. Well, that's called the top and the bottom of the entire world, that.
Pennine 235.
Oh, well, here come the memos. If you just joined us, a very, very good morning to you. Welcome along to the show. Yours truly, Steve Merrick, here with you till 9 o'clock. We've got 2 hours and a bit left to go. 17 minutes now before 7 o'clock. 17 to 7 on a bright Tuesday morning from Bradford in West Yorkshire. This is Lindy Lewis. Sounds like the missus on a Sunday drive out, doesn't it? That's Rock and Roller Coaster there. Good sounds indeed from 235 and 96 stereo VHF all over Bradford and West Yorkshire. And that's Linda Lewis and her song, which is called Rock and Roller Coaster. It's 14 minutes now before 7 o'clock, 14 to 7. And you might have heard me going on a bit about breakfast with Merrick and coffee and cornflakes. Well, it's your opportunity to win the biggest box of cornflakes you saw in your life, absolutely for nothing. And the simplest thing you've got to do, because it is very simple, nothing complicated this time of the morning, I can assure you. What I want you to do is to drop me a postcard to the address I shall give you in a moment. And on the front of that postcard, put a little morning story that we can all have a good laugh to first thing in the morning, either something which happened to you or something you'd like to happen to you. The mind boggles indeed, doesn't it? Anyway, a little morning story that we can all read out, and I can read out on the wireless, so it's nice and clean and nothing too naughty for this time. And on the other side of the postcard, address it to Breakfast with Merrick, Pennine Radio, P.O. Box 235, Pennine House, Foster Square, Bradford, BD1 5MP. And by return of me reading it on the wireless, lo and behold, as if by magic, the post office will deliver to your door a nice big box of cornflakes, and around 7:15 and 8:20 in the morning, usual Breakfast with Merrick. So if you fancy winning a nice big box of cornflakes, now's the time to put pen to paper, or maybe at work when you haven't got too much to do, put it on a postcard and send it to the address again, because I know it's all new to you. And that's Breakfast with Merrick, Pennine Radio, P.O. Box 235, Pennine House, Foster Square, Bradford, BD1 5NP. And I can only say, my love, that I look forward to breakfasting with you.
Juicy fruit is a packet full of sunshine. The bright and shiny flavor can carry along the way. So reach in for another sunny day.
Enjoy the exciting flavor of Juicy Fruit Gum.
It's a packet full of sunshine. Packet full of sunshine. Cornflakes at Morrison's, your friendly Morrison's. Real value Morrison's, permanent low prices at Morrison's.
You'll really save money at Morrison's with no gimmicks, no special offers, no sticky stamps. Just genuine reductions on everything we sell every shopping day of the year. That's honest to goodness value for money. That's the Morrison's promise.
Clean, careful Morrison's. Everything's at Morrison's. Honest to goodness Morrison's. The better way to shop and save at Morrison's.
12 minutes now to 7. That's 12 to 7 from 235.
Pennine 235 with memory.
Yeah, so it's testing the grey matter time again. I don't feel like it much either. But I'm sure you can trundle your weary way back to 1973 and remember this song, and maybe even have a sing-along to it as well as you dive for the bathroom before the rest of the family. The Wombles, indeed, and their song, which is called The Wobbling Song. What a lovely way to say a very good morning to Tuesday, eh? Especially when you can sing us loud of that, waking the rest of the family up. But they're going to be really pleased, aren't they? Especially as they don't have to get up till 8 o'clock. That's the Wombles there, and their song from 1973, and that's called The Wobbling Song. It's 9 minutes now before 7 o'clock, 9 minutes to 7, and it's time for our feature, which is called Ear to Ear.
Hello there. My name's Paul Needle, and about this time every morning there'll be somebody here with a story or a thought for you. Whether you believe what I tell you is up to you, of course, but it's amazing just what folks will believe. Now, last Saturday, I went into the local marketplace. I stopped a Yorkshireman from getting on with his weekend shopping, and I said to him, "What would you say if I told you that there was a man in the moon? Would you believe me?"
Well, I won't believe you altogether, but I wouldn't say there isn't.
So you're prepared to admit that there might be. What makes you think that?
Well, there's scientific explorations that they're having now, it's possible that there might be. I'm not convinced there is. I'm not convinced that there isn't. Though I am interested. I watch these, what it shows you on the television, how things are going there. I'm interested in that.
Now, it's a relief to find somebody who's prepared to consider believing that there's a man in the moon, though it'd be very hard to prove it. I'll tell you tomorrow what question I asked him next.
Ah, sleepy eyes, you're lovely.
That's the sound going into your ear holes.
Yes, indeed. If anything's going in there, let's hope that for the time to come, it's going to be yours truly, Steve Merrick, from 6 to 9. And then from 9 through until 12:30, it's going to be the debonair, suave, and ever so knickers, Stuart Francis, from 12:45 right after the news through until around 4 o'clock. It's going to be Roger Kirk. And from 4 through until 7 with a break for news at 5:30, it's going to be Julius K. Scragg, the only man who could, but he never thought he could not. That's our conundrum for the morning, you see. It's 7 minutes now to 7 o'clock, 7 to 7, and the number 5 song take us nearer the national news at 7 from the Stylistics. The greatest music for 1975 on Pennine 235 and 96 stereo VHF as well. It's 7 minutes now before 7 o'clock, 7 minutes to 7 on the breakfast programme. Let's have a look at the weather. I think today it's going to be dry and sunny, rather warm as well, warmer than yesterday anyway, with temperatures rising to 17 degrees centigrade and 63 degrees Fahrenheit. The winds are going to remain nice and light and moderate, and I bet if you live up at Queensbury, you're very happy about that.
And you can't help smiling when you drive a Citroen 2CV.
How would you like to see the Citroen 2CVs and Diane's racing this weekend? Come to Clitheroe on the A59 this Saturday and Sunday for the great 2CV cross meeting. You can see these top economy cars battling to win on a really dicey circuit. It's 2 great days racing at the Citroen 2CV cross from 10:30 this Saturday and Sunday at Clitheroe Lancs on the A59. Don't miss it.
It's a morning, you've got to get up. Go on.
Plays the hits you can remember all through the day and into the night. It's on 235.
Right, you've had almost 1 hour of Pennine 235 now. If you're not up and out of your kip very shortly, I shall be down there to do the most diabolical things to your kip. I'm not going to tell you about them later then, in case you do get up and stop listening. And I do not need that at this time of the morning. The Stuart Francis hit pick this week is from David Essex. Oh, isn't that a very pleasant thought and a feeling for this time of the morning? Oh, without a doubt, David Essex there. And that's the Stuart Francis hit pick this week on 235. You can hear him between 9 and 12. Don't forget, 9 and 12:30, should I say. Lopping off half hour of his instant programme now. David Essex. That song from him is called Hold Me Closer. I shall be back right after the news with a song from Johnny Nash called I Can See Clearly Now. Pennine 235 news at 7 a.m.
This is Stephen Harris reporting. We've just heard that the hostages from the Madrid embassy siege have been released in Algiers by the 4 Palestinian gunmen who stormed the building yesterday. They got to Algiers on a plane that was supplied at the end of their